The first sign that something was wrong came not as a scream, but as silence. Anakin Skywalker stood alone in the lower vaults of the Jedi Temple, surrounded by relics the Order had hidden away because they could not destroy them. The walls were old stone beneath polished durasteel, older than the towers above, older than the banners, older than the Council's careful voices. Down here, the temple did not feel like a place of peace. It felt like a locked memory. A blue security light blinked over the sealed archive door behind him. He should not have been there. He knew that. Obi-Wan would have given him that look, the one caught between disappointment and worry. Master Windu would have called it recklessness. Yoda would have tapped his gimmer stick and said something maddening about fear guiding his feet. But none of them had watched Padmé die every night. None of them had woken gasping with the taste of smoke in their mouth and the sound of her voice fading, as if the galaxy itself were taking her from him. Anakin moved deeper into the vault. His cloak brushed against locked cases. Ancient masks stared from behind transparasteel. Broken Sith blades rested in fields of humming containment energy. Holocrons sat dark and silent, their corners sharp as fangs. One object called to him. It was not the loud call of the dark side. It was worse than that. It was familiar. At the center of the chamber, beneath a ring of old Jedi script, floated a shard of black glass. It was about the size of his hand, shaped like a piece of a mirror, shattered from something much larger. The surface did not reflect his face. It reflected fire. Anakin stopped. The air around the shard twisted. For a moment, he heard breathing. Harsh, mechanical, patient. His fingers curled. "Show me," he whispered. The shard brightened. A voice slid through the vault, neither male nor female, neither living nor dead. "You already know what you fear." Anakin swallowed. "I need to save her." "Then look upon the road your fear will build." He should have stepped back. He should have called Obi-Wan. He should have remembered every lesson he had ever been taught about visions, temptation, and the lies of easy answers. Instead, Anakin reached out. The moment his fingertips touched the glass, the temple vanished. There was no falling. There was only impact. Anakin hit cold metal hard enough to drive the breath from his lungs. He rolled, cloak tangling around his legs, and came up on one knee with his lightsaber in his hand. His first thought was that he had been moved to a ship. His second thought was that something was terribly wrong with the Force. It was still there, but wounded. Not absent, not silent. Wounded. It trembled around him like a living creature that had survived a blade to the heart. He felt fear, grief, rage, and a vast emptiness where countless lives had burned out at once. He stood slowly. A corridor stretched before him, white and black and shining with imperial precision. Stormtroopers marched past at the far end, their armor unfamiliar but unmistakably descended from clone design. Their helmets turned in perfect unison. Anakin ducked into the shadow of a recessed doorway before they saw him. His heart hammered. Stormtroopers. Not clone troopers. The armor was wrong. The silence was wrong. The way they moved was wrong. A distant alarm pulsed through the station. Red light flashed along the walls. Somewhere far away, turbolifts screamed downward. The floor vibrated beneath his boots with the deep power of a battle station. Anakin reached into the Force and felt thousands of minds. Fearful officers, disciplined soldiers, prisoners, and something else. A presence like a black sun. Anakin staggered back against the wall. He knew that darkness. He had felt it in Palpatine's office, buried beneath warmth and praise. He had felt it in dreams. He had felt it every time the Chancellor smiled and said the Jedi did not trust him because they feared his power. But here, that darkness was not hidden. It ruled. A blast door opened ahead. A young man in stormtrooper armor, without a helmet, stumbled into the corridor, dragging a wounded rebel pilot by the arm. The young man's face was pale, determined, and strangely familiar. Blonde hair stuck to his forehead with sweat. His eyes were blue. Anakin froze. For one impossible second, he thought he was staring at a younger version of himself. The young man saw him and lifted a stolen blaster. "Don't move!" Anakin raised his hands slowly. "I'm not your enemy." That's what enemies usually say. The wounded pilot. "Luke, we don't have time." Luke. The name struck Anakin with no reason and too much force. Anakin stared at him. The force wrapped around the boy like sunlight trying to break through smoke. "You're strong with the force," Anakin said. Luke's grip tightened on the blaster. "Who are you?" Anakin opened his mouth. Before he could answer, the corridor lights dimmed. A sound filled the air. Breathing. Slow. Mechanical. Heavy enough to crush thought. Luke went rigid. The wounded pilot, a curse. At the end of the corridor, stormtroopers stepped aside. A figure in black emerged through the smoke. Anakin's blood turned to ice. The man was towering, armored from helmet to boots, draped in a black cape that moved like a shadow with a will of its own. A control panel blinked on his chest. The mask was expressionless, but the force around him screamed in pain and fury. A red lightsaber ignited. Anakin ignited his own blade by instinct. Blue light met red across the white corridor. The masked figure stopped. For a moment, the entire station seemed to hold its breath. Then the Dark Warrior spoke. "Impossible." Anakin felt the voice in his bones, not because of the sound, because beneath the machine, beneath the hate, beneath the burned ruin of a soul, he recognized himself. Luke looked between them. "You know him?" Anakin could not answer. The masked man lifted his blade. "You should not exist." Anakin's hand shook. "What are you?" The figure took one step forward. "What you become." The words struck harder than any blow. Anakin's vision blurred. He saw fire. He saw a river of lava. He saw Obi-Wan's face twisted with grief. He saw Padmé lying still. He saw younglings staring up at him. He saw his own hand, gloved in black, reaching for a throat. "No," Anakin whispered. The masked figure attacked. Anakin barely blocked the first strike. The impact drove him back into the wall. Sparks rained from a severed panel. The red blade hammered down, again and again, with brutal strength. Not the elegant precision of Dooku, not the wild fury of Maul, but something more horrifying. This was his own style stripped of mercy. Every aggressive instinct Anakin had ever indulged was there, every lesson ignored. Every moment he had chosen power over patience. The Dark Warrior fought like a verdict. Anakin twisted aside, kicked the armored knee, and shoved Luke behind him with the force. "Run!" he shouted. Luke hesitated. The masked man turned his helmet toward the boy. "Stay, young Skywalker." Young Skywalker. Anakin's defense faltered. The red blade slashed across his shoulder, burning through fabric and skin. He stumbled. Luke fired his blaster. The shots bounced from the Dark Warrior's blade in flashes of red. The wounded pilot grabbed Luke. "Move!" Luke backed away, eyes locked on Anakin. "Come with us!" Anakin blocked another strike and felt the strength behind it. He could not beat this thing. Not here. Not while his mind was breaking. He hurled a broken wall panel between them and sprinted after Luke. Red light cut the panel in half behind him. They ran. The corridor became a blur of alarms, blaster fire, smoke, and shouting. Anakin moved on instinct, deflecting bolts from stormtroopers, cutting through locked doors, shoving enemies aside without killing them when he could. Luke stared every time the blue blade flashed. "You're a Jedi," Luke said, breathlessly. Anakin almost laughed. "So I've been told." They burst into a hangar where a battered freighter waited with its ramp down. A tall Wookiee roared from the cockpit entrance. A smuggler in a black vest waved frantically. "Kid, now would be a great time to stop collecting strangers." Luke shoved the wounded pilot up the ramp. "He saved us!" The smuggler looked at Anakin's robes, lightsaber, and burned shoulder. "Fantastic, another wizard." Blaster fire erupted across the hangar. Anakin turned and saw the masked warrior enter. Stormtroopers formed around him, but he did not need them. He walked through the chaos, untouched, cape dragging behind him like night. Anakin backed up the ramp. The masked warrior stopped at the edge of the hangar, his helmet tilted toward Luke, then toward Anakin. "You cannot escape yourself," he said. The ramp closed. The freighter lifted as the hangar exploded with blaster fire. Anakin braced himself against the wall while the ship lurched into open space. Stars stretched into blue-white lines. Hyperspace swallowed them. Only then did Anakin sink to the floor. Luke crouched beside him. "Your shoulder." "I've had worse." The smuggler snorted from the cockpit doorway. "Great, he's arrogant, too." Luke ignored him. "Who are you?" Anakin studied the boy's face, the familiar shape of the eyes, the stubborn set of the jaw. The Force moved around him with a rhythm Anakin almost recognized. "My name is Anakin," he said carefully. The cockpit went silent. Luke's expression changed. The smuggler frowned. "That means something?" Luke lowered the blaster. "My father's name was Anakin Skywalker." The words hollowed Anakin out. For a moment, he heard nothing but the ship's engines. "Your father," Anakin repeated. Luke nodded slowly. "He was a Jedi Knight. He died before I knew him." Anakin could not breathe. He wanted to ask who Luke's mother was, but he already knew. The answer stood behind Luke's eyes. It lived in the ache that had dragged Anakin through the vault. It had Padmé's courage, Padmé's compassion, Padmé's impossible ability to stand in the middle of disaster and still believe people could choose better. Anakin looked away. The smuggler stepped forward. "This is getting too strange even for me." Luke's voice softened. "Are you related to him?" Anakin almost told the truth. Then he remembered the masked warrior. "What you become." "I knew him," Anakin said. It was not a lie. Not fully. Luke sat back on his heels. "Was he a good man?" Anakin closed his eyes. The easiest answer would have been yes. The honest answer nearly destroyed him. "He wanted to be," Anakin said. "More than anything." The freighter came out of hyperspace near a moon hidden behind the shadow of a red gas giant. Rebel ships floated in scattered formation, patched together from desperation and hope. Anakin followed Luke down the ramp into a hangar alive with motion. Mechanics ran under starfighters, droids rolled between fuel lines, pilots shouted over alarms. No Jedi banners, no Republic insignia, only the symbol of rebellion. Anakin stared at it. The galaxy had become a prison, and these people were the ones still trying to breathe. A woman in white hurried across the hangar, dark hair braided around her head like a crown. She was young, fierce-eyed, and carried herself with the authority of a queen, despite wearing no jewels. Anakin stopped walking. Padmé. Not Padmé. The resemblance was not exact, but it struck him with such force that his knees nearly buckled. The shape of her face, the fire in her eyes, the way every person in the room straightened when she passed. Luke brightened. "Leia!" The woman reached him and embraced him quickly, relief breaking through her discipline. Then her gaze moved to Anakin. She froze. For a heartbeat, Anakin saw Padmé looking at him from across a Naboo lake. Then the woman's expression hardened. "Who is this?" Luke said. "He helped us escape." The smuggler muttered, "After nearly getting us killed by the black-caped nightmare." Leia studied Anakin's lightsaber. "A Jedi?" Anakin bowed his head slightly. "I was." "Was?" "It is complicated." Her eyes narrowed. "Everything is complicated now." An older rebel officer approached. His hair was gray, his face lined by years of running from war. "Princess, we have reports from the outer pickets. The Imperial fleet is spreading. They know we're here." "Princess?" Anakin stared at Leia. Luke was his son. Leia was his daughter. He knew it with a certainty beyond proof. The Force sang around them both, separated and searching, twin flames born from the same impossible light. His children were alive, and they were hunted. Because of him. Leia noticed his stare. "Do I know you?" Anakin's throat tightened. No. Then stop looking at me like that. Luke glanced at him, confused. The rebel officer gestured toward the command center. Princess, we need you. Leia turned away, but paused. Search him, then bring him. If he is a spy, I want to know before Vader arrives. Vader. The name fell like a blade. Anakin whispered. That is what he calls himself? Leia looked back. You truly don't know? Anakin said nothing. Her voice became cold. Darth Vader is the Emperor's enforcer. He hunted the Jedi. He helped murder the Republic. He held me while my world was destroyed. Anakin felt the wounded emptiness in the Force again. A whole world gone. Leia's face did not tremble, but her grief burned bright enough to shame stars. I'm sorry, Anakin said. Leia stepped closer. Everyone is sorry. It never brings anyone back. She walked away. Anakin watched her go and felt something inside him crack. In the command center, a tactical display showed the Imperial fleet tightening its net around the moon. Rebel commanders spoke in clipped voices. They had too few ships, too few fighters, too few places to run. The Empire had found them faster than expected. Anakin stood near the back, guarded by soldiers who kept nervous hands near their weapons. Luke stood beside him. You knew my father, Luke said quietly. Anakin kept his eyes on the display. Yes. What happened to him? The answer stood in black armor somewhere beyond the stars. Anakin forced himself to speak. He made choices he thought would save the people he loved. Each choice made him less able to love them. Luke frowned. That doesn't sound like what Ben told me. Ben? Ben Kenobi. He said my father was betrayed and murdered by Darth Vader. Anakin flinched. Obi-Wan had survived. Obi-Wan had lied. Or perhaps, in the only way that mattered, Obi-Wan had told the truth. Luke watched him closely. Did you know Ben too? Yes, Anakin said. He was my master. Luke's eyes widened. Then you really are from the old Jedi Order. Anakin looked at him. Did he train you? A little, before Vader killed him. The words landed quietly, but they opened a wound deep enough to swallow Anakin whole. Obi-Wan dead. Killed by the monster Anakin became. Anakin turned away before Luke could see his face. In the display, an Imperial Star Destroyer appeared at the edge of the system. Then another. Then another. Leia entered with the older officer. Evacuation begins now. No heroics. We get the transports out and scatter. One commander shook his head. The blockade is too tight. There is always a gap, Leia said. Anakin heard Padmé in her voice. There is always a choice. He stepped forward. The gap will be here. Every blaster in the room lifted. Anakin ignored them and pointed at the display. The fleet is arranging itself around fear, not terrain. Vader expects you to run from him, so he will put his strongest ships where panic would send you. But he will leave the gas giant's radiation shadow lightly guarded because he assumes your transports cannot survive the turbulence. The older officer narrowed his eyes. Can they? No, Anakin said. Not without someone clearing the path. Leia studied him. And you can? I was the best pilot in the Jedi Order. The smuggler, leaning near the doorway, rolled his eyes. Of course he was. Anakin turned to Luke. Can you fly? Luke's face lit despite the fear. Yes. Leia shook her head. Absolutely not. Luke stepped toward her. Leia, if he's right, he is a stranger. He saved me. He also looks at us like he's seen ghosts. Anakin looked at both of them. He wanted to tell them. He wanted to fall to his knees and beg forgiveness from children who had not yet been born in his time and had already suffered because of him in this one. But the Imperial fleet was coming. Confession could wait. Survival could not. Princess, Anakin said, you do not trust me. Good. Do not trust me. Trust the part of you that knows your people are running out of time. Leia's jaw tightened. For a moment, he saw Padmé again, deciding whether to believe a reckless Jedi boy on Geonosis. Then Leia turned to the officer. "Prepare 2 fighter wings. Put him in the oldest ship we have." The smuggler laughed. "Smart. If he crashes, we lose nothing." Anakin almost smiled. "I have flown worse." The fighter they gave him was old enough to have opinions. Its stabilizer whined, its left engine before ignition. The astromech socket contained a nervous blue and gray droid that beeped in protest the moment Anakin climbed in. "I know," Anakin said, fastening the harness. "I wouldn't trust me either." Luke's fighter rose beside his. The comm clicked. "Anakin?" Hearing his name from his son nearly broke his concentration. "Yes?" Luke hesitated. "May the Force be with you." Anakin closed his eyes. Once, that blessing had felt like tradition. Now it felt like a plea from the future. "And with you, Luke." They launched into chaos. The moon vanished behind them as the rebel fighters shot toward the gas giant. TIE fighters screamed from the blockade in black swarms. Green laser fire stitched the void. Anakin gripped the controls and felt, for the first time since arriving, something simple. A ship. A battle. A chance to save lives. His old instincts returned, but now he saw the danger in them. The hunger to dominate the sky. The thrill of being untouchable. The arrogance that whispered he could win any war alone. He breathed through it. Not for glory. Not for pride. For them. "Luke, stay on my left." "I can handle myself." "I know," Anakin said. "That is why I want you alive." Luke obeyed. Together they dove into the radiation shadow. The gas giant's storms clawed at their wings. Lightning burst in the upper clouds, throwing blue-white light across the cockpit. Anakin skimmed the edge of a magnetic current and fired at a cluster of sensor buoys hidden in the storm. The buoys exploded. On the tactical display, the Imperial net flickered. "Transport lane open," the older officer said over the comm in his voice. Leia's voice followed. "All transports, move!" The rebels ran. Imperial cruisers shifted too late. Vader's flagship surged forward, cutting through the blockade with terrifying speed. Anakin felt him before he saw him. Vader entered the battle in a black fighter, moving with lethal grace. TIE fighters scattered to make room. Luke breathed sharply over the comm. "That's him." Anakin's hands tightened. The black fighter rolled and fired. A rebel pilot vanished in flame. Anakin turned toward him. Leia's voice snapped through the comm. "Do not engage Vader." Anakin ignored her. Luke followed. The 3 fighters met above the storm. Vader fired first. Anakin spun beneath the blast, skimmed across the black fighter's wing, and felt Vader's shock ripple through the Force. Luke came in high, firing wildly but bravely. Vader twisted aside with contemptuous ease and nearly lined up a killing shot. Anakin slammed his fighter between them. Laser fire tore through his shields. "Stay away from him," Anakin growled. Vader's voice entered his cockpit through an open channel. "You are afraid for the boy." Anakin said nothing. "Good," Vader continued. "Fear is the only teacher you ever obey." Anakin dove into the storm. Vader followed. Lightning cracked around them. The old fighter shook hard enough to blur the instruments. Anakin cut power, let the ship drop, then reignited at the last possible instant. Vader matched him. Of course he did. They were the same hand writing different endings. "You cannot change what you are," Vader said. Anakin banked through a canyon of clouds. "I am not you. You are me before honesty, before pain burned away illusion. You are what happens when I stop fighting myself." Vader's silence lasted only a breath. Then his rage hit like a wave. Anakin's cockpit glass cracked under the pressure. The astromech screamed. The fighter spun. Luke shouted his name over the comm. Anakin reached into the Force. Not for power, not for control, for balance. He felt Luke's courage, Leia's grief, Obi-Wan's lost hope, Padmé's love waiting in a past that still existed somewhere beyond this nightmare. He steadied the ship. Then he did something Vader did not expect. He stopped running. Anakin cut engines, flipped the fighter, and fired at the storm current above them. The burst triggered a chain of lightning across the gas giant's upper atmosphere. Energy wrapped around Vader's fighter in a net of white fire. The black ship spun, damaged but not destroyed. Anakin could have finished him. For one terrible second, he wanted to. He wanted to kill the proof of his failure, kill the future, kill the shame. His thumb hovered over the trigger. Luke's voice came softly through the comm. "Anakin?" Anakin let out a shaking breath. "No." He pulled away. Behind him, Vader's fighter vanished into the storm. The rebel fleet escaped. Not all of it. Enough. In the aftermath, the hangar was filled with wounded pilots, scorched droids, and the exhausted silence of people who had survived when they expected to die. Anakin climbed from his fighter and nearly collapsed. Luke caught him. "You did it," Luke said. "We did it." Leia approached slowly. The suspicion had not left her face, but something else had joined it. Respect. "You could have killed him," she said. Anakin looked down. "Yes." "Why didn't you?" "Because killing him would not undo what made him." Leia stared at him for a long time. "You talk about him like you understand him." Anakin met her eyes. "I do." A warning siren began to wail. Not from outside, from inside the base. The older officer rushed in. "Imperial signal, short range. Someone tracked us through hyperspace." The lights flickered. A cold presence unfolded through the moon base. Vader had arrived. Not with an army. Alone. Panic spread through the hangar. Soldiers ran to barricades. Pilots grabbed weapons. Leia drew a blaster. Luke reached for a lightsaber at his belt, an older weapon Anakin recognized instantly. His lightsaber. The one Obi-Wan must have kept. Anakin stared at it. Luke noticed. "Ben gave it to me. He said it belonged to my father." Anakin could barely speak. "It did." Before Luke could answer, the blast doors exploded inward. Smoke rolled across the hangar floor. Vader stepped through it. Blaster fire erupted from every side. He walked through it, red blade moving in cruel arcs. Bolts flying back into walls, ceilings, weapons. He did not slaughter the rebels as he advanced. He disarmed them, terrified them, proved he could kill them whenever he chose. His attention remained on Luke. Leia fired until her blaster overheated. Vader lifted his hand. Leia was ripped off her feet and dragged toward him. Anakin moved faster. His blue blade crashed against Vader's red one, inches from Leia's face. The Force released her, and Luke pulled her back. Father and Shadow stood locked together. Vader's breathing filled the hangar. "You protect them," Vader said. "Yes." "They will hate you when they know." Anakin swallowed. "They should." Luke looked between them, horror dawning. "What does he mean?" Vader's helmet turned. Anakin felt the cruelty before the words came. "He has not told you." Leia's face went pale. "Told us what?" Anakin lowered his blade slightly. There was no more time, no gentle way, no safe path around the truth. "I am Anakin Skywalker," he said. Luke stepped back as if struck. Leia's blaster lowered. The hangar seemed to tilt. Anakin forced himself to continue. "I am not from this time. I came from before the Empire, before you were born, before I became him." Luke whispered, "No." Vader's breathing deepened. Leia's face twisted with disgust. "You're lying." "I wish I were." Luke looked at Vader, then at Anakin, then at the lightsaber in his own hand. "My father is Vader?" Anakin's voice broke. "In this future, yes." Leia shook her head, eyes bright with rage. "No! My father was Bail Organa. My mother was Queen Breya. You are nothing to me." "I know," Anakin said. "They raised you. They loved you. That matters more than blood." Vader attacked. Anakin met him. Their duel tore through the hangar. Red and blue light flashed over rebel ships. Vader pressed with merciless strength, driving Anakin past fuel carts and shattered crates. Anakin gave ground. refusing the anger that rose every time he saw Luke's devastated face or Leia's hatred. Vader wanted that anger. Anakin could feel it. Every strike was a question. Will you break? Will you rage? Will you become me? Anakin blocked a blow aimed for his head and answered with patience. Vader faltered, only for a moment, but enough. Anakin kicked him back and slashed through the control panel on Vader's chest. Sparks burst. Vader staggered, breathing turning ragged. Luke ignited his green blade and moved forward. Leia grabbed his arm. "Luke, don't!" Luke's face was wet with tears. "He destroyed everything!" Anakin looked at his son. "That is why you cannot become him to punish him." Vader rose, damaged and furious. "Weakness!" Anakin turned back. "No, the one thing you forgot." Vader lifted both hands. The hangar shook. Crates, tools, weapons, broken metal, all rose into the air. Rebels screamed as the storm of debris began to circle.
Anakin felt the attack before it came. Vader intended to crush everyone. If he could not have Luke, if he could not break Anakin, he would bury the truth beneath bodies. Anakin dropped his lightsaber. Luke shouted, "What are you doing?" Anakin raised both hands. The debris stopped. For one suspended heartbeat, the hangar became a battlefield of still objects and trembling air. Vader's rage pushed from one side. Anakin pushed from the other. But Anakin did not push with rage. He thought of his mother, dying in his arms, and let grief pass through without becoming vengeance. He thought of Padmé, her hand on his cheek, and let love remain love without becoming possession. He thought of Obi-Wan, who had given him everything, and would one day lose everything because of him. He thought of Luke and Leia, who deserved a father who chose them before he knew them. The debris lowered slowly to the ground. Vader staggered as if struck. Anakin stepped closer. "I am sorry," he said. Vader froze. "I am sorry for what I made you carry," Anakin continued. "I am sorry for every life I blamed on fear. I am sorry I called love a reason to become a monster." Vader's red blade trembled. "For Padmé," Anakin said. "I should have trusted her enough to let her choose her own fate." At the sound of her name, Vader recoiled. The hangar vanished. Anakin stood in a field of ash. The moon base was gone. Luke, Leia, Vader, the rebels, all of it disappeared into gray wind. Before him stretched a landscape of broken statues and burning towers. At the horizon stood the Jedi temple on Corusaunt, its spires crowned in smoke. The black shard floated in the air ahead. "You have seen enough." Anakin turned in a circle. "Send me back!" "Not yet." The ash shifted. Padmé appeared. Not as he had seen her in dreams, dying and afraid. She stood as she had on the balcony of her apartment, hair loose, eyes clear, wearing the soft blue gown she loved when she wanted the war to feel far away. Anakin knew she was not truly there. That did not stop the pain. "Padmé," he whispered. She looked at him with terrible tenderness. "What did you learn?" "That I lose you." Her expression saddened. "No," Anakin said quickly. "Not just that. I learned that trying to stop loss can become the thing that destroys everything I love." Padmé stepped closer. "And what will you do?" "I don't know." It was the hardest truth he had ever spoken. "I don't know how to save you. I don't know how to stop Palpatine. I don't know how to make the Council trust me. I don't know how to be a father. I don't know how to let go." Padmé touched his face. He could almost feel it. "But I know I can't do it alone," Anakin said. The ash began to fall upward. Padmé smiled faintly. "Then come home." The world cracked. Anakin woke on the floor of the Jedi vault. The black shard lay in pieces around him. His shoulder burned where Vader's blade had struck him. It had not been only a vision. He scrambled to his feet. The vault alarms were screaming. Footsteps pounded outside. The door opened, and Obi-Wan rushed in with his lightsaber drawn. "Anakin!" Behind him came Master Windu, several temple guards, and Yoda. Anakin looked at them. For years, his first instinct would have been defiance. A joke, a lie, a wall.
Instead, he dropped his lightsaber and fell to his knees. Obi-Wan's face changed. "Anakin?" "I need help," Anakin said. The words seemed to shock the room more than any attack could have. Master Windu's eyes narrowed. "What happened here?" Anakin looked at him. "Palpatine is a Sith Lord." Silence swallowed the vault. Obi-Wan went still. Yoda's ears lowered. Master Windu stepped forward. "Be very careful with your next words." "I have never been more careful in my life," Anakin said. "His name is Sidious. He has been controlling both sides of the war. He knows about Padmé. He knows I'm afraid she will die. He has been feeding that fear because he wants me to betray you." Obi-Wan stared at him. "Padmé?" Anakin closed his eyes. "No more lies. She is my wife." The temple guards shifted in shock. Master Windu's expression hardened. Anakin waited for condemnation, for arrest, for rejection. Some part of him almost wanted it, because it would prove every dark thought he had ever had about the Jedi right. Instead, Obi-Wan lowered his blade. His voice was quiet. "How long?" "Since Geonosis." Pain crossed Obi-Wan's face. Not anger. Pain. "You should have told me." "I know." Yoda moved closer, studying Anakin with ancient eyes. "Much fear in you there has been." "Yes." "Still fear in you there is." Anakin nodded. "Yes." Master Windu looked toward the shattered relic. "And this vision?" "Not just a vision," Anakin said. "A warning. A future. Maybe the future. I saw the Empire. I saw what happens if Palpatine wins. I saw myself as his servant." His voice trembled. "I killed Jedi. I hunted survivors. I helped destroy worlds. Obi-Wan, I killed you." Obi-Wan's face went pale. Anakin looked down. "I saw my children." The words broke something open in him. "Luke and Leia, they were brave, better than me. They fought the Empire because I helped create it." No one spoke. For once, no one knew how. Then Master Windu turned to the guards. "Seal the vault level. No one enters or leaves without my command." Anakin looked up. "You believe me?" "I believe you believe it," Windu said. "And I believe the Chancellor has avoided scrutiny for too long." Yoda tapped his stick once. "Move carefully. We must." "No," Anakin said, standing. "Not carefully. Together." Master Windu frowned. Anakin faced him without flinching. "That is how he wins. He isolates us. He makes you distrust me. He makes me resent you. He makes the Senate fear the Jedi and the Jedi fear the Senate. He turns every truth into a weapon. If we go to arrest him with suspicion between us, he will use it." Obi-Wan looked at Yoda. Yoda's gaze remained on Anakin. "Spoken like one who has seen the cost," Yoda said. Anakin swallowed. "I have." The plan formed quickly because it had to. Padmé was brought to the temple under guard, furious until she saw Anakin's face. Then anger became fear. He told her everything in a private chamber, with Obi-Wan standing near the door and Yoda watching from the shadows. He told her about the dreams, about Palpatine, about the future, about Luke and Leia. Padmé did not interrupt. When he finished, she took his hands. "You should have told me sooner," she said. Anakin nodded, ashamed. "I thought I was protecting you." "I know." Her grip tightened. "Do not do that again." "I won't. Promise me." "I promise." Obi-Wan turned away, pretending not to hear, but Anakin saw the relief in his shoulders. Padmé looked toward Yoda. "If the Chancellor is Sidious, he controls the Senate. You cannot simply march into his office and expect the law to save you." Master Windu, who had entered halfway through the explanation, said, "We cannot leave him in power." "I am not suggesting you do," Padmé said. "I am suggesting you let him reveal himself before witnesses he cannot easily erase." Anakin looked at her. "The Senate?" "No," Padmé said. "He controls too much of it. But he does not control every senator, every commander, every recording system, and every emergency channel at once."
Obi-Wan's eyebrow lifted. That sounds like a plan. Padmé's eyes sharpened. It is.
By nightfall, Corusaunt glittered beneath storm clouds.
Palpatine stood in his office overlooking the city, hands folded into his sleeves. He looked tired, benevolent, burdened by war. He had perfected the mask so completely that Anakin wondered how he had not seen the seams before. "Anakin," Palpatine said, "I came as soon as you requested. Your message troubled me." Anakin stood alone in the center of the office. At least, he appeared to be alone. "I needed to speak with you," Anakin said. Palpatine approached with careful concern. "Of course. You know you can tell me anything." Anakin almost laughed. How many times had those words felt like rescue? "I know what you are," Anakin said. Palpatine stopped, only for a fraction of a breath. Then "I see the Jedi have been speaking poison into your ears." "No, you did that." The warmth faded from Palpatine's face, not all at once, but like a curtain being drawn back from a window. "Be wise, Anakin." "I'm trying. I can save Padmé." Anakin's heart lurched. Even after everything, the hook still found blood. Palpatine sensed it and stepped closer. "The Jedi cannot. They will make you surrender her to fate. I can give you power over life itself." Anakin heard Vader's breathing. He saw Leia's grief. He saw Luke asking if his father had been good. "No," Anakin said. Palpatine's eyes darkened. "No? I will not murder the galaxy because I am afraid to grieve." The office doors opened. Master Windu, Obi-Wan, Yoda, and several Jedi entered with ignited blades. At the same moment, hidden recorders activated across the room, linked through channels Padmé had arranged with loyal senators and military officers. Palpatine looked around, then smiled. It was the most frightening expression Anakin had ever seen. "So be it." The mask died. Red lightning erupted from his hands. Anakin moved before fear could move him. His blade caught the lightning and bent it aside. Windu came from the left, Obi-Wan from the right, Yoda springing through the air like green fire. The office exploded into motion. Palpatine fought like a nightmare unleashed. His saber flashed crimson. He struck at Windu's throat, kicked Obi-Wan into a desk, hurled Senate statues across the room, and as Yoda met his lightning with both hands. Anakin stayed centered. Not perfect, not fearless. Centered. Palpatine tried to reach him through the Force. "They will take her from you." Anakin blocked a strike. "They will take your children." He stepped back, breathing hard. "They will never trust you." Anakin looked at Obi-Wan, who had recovered and now stood beside him. "Yes," Anakin said. "They will." Together, he and Obi-Wan attacked. Not as master and failure, not as perfect Jedi and broken Jedi. As brothers. Palpatine retreated for the first time. Windu pressed the opening. His purple blade struck Palpatine's saber so hard the Sith Lord stumbled. Yoda swept low, forcing him back toward the window. Anakin felt the moment coming before it arrived. The same choice. The future balanced on the edge of a blade. Palpatine lost his weapon. Windu held his saber at the Sith Lord's throat. "He is too dangerous to live," Windu said. Palpatine looked past him to Anakin. There it was. The trap. If Anakin defended Palpatine, the future would begin. If he allowed execution in anger, another shadow would take root. Anakin stepped forward. "No." Windu's eyes flashed. "Skywalker! He needs to stand trial." Palpatine's mouth twitched. Anakin saw it. So did Windu. The Sith Lord raised his hands. Lightning burst toward Windu. Anakin did not cut off Windu's hand. He cut through the floor beneath Palpatine's feet. The Chancellor dropped, lightning scattering wildly as the weakened panel collapsed into the maintenance level below. Yoda leapt after him. Obi-Wan followed. Windu stared at Anakin for one stunned moment, then jumped down as well. Anakin landed last. Palpatine was already crawling from the wreckage, robes smoking, face twisted with hatred. "No more masks," Anakin said. The hidden emergency channels carried everything. The Sith Lord's face, his lightning. His confessions screamed in rage as he attacked again. Across Coruscant, senators saw, clone commanders saw, the Jedi Temple saw, Padmé saw. The battle ended not with triumph, but exhaustion.
Palpatine fell beneath the combined strength of Yoda, Windu, Obi-Wan, and Anakin. He was bound in ray shields, stripped of weapons, surrounded by witnesses and recordings and soldiers whose inhibitor commands had been interrupted before they could be activated. When it was over, Anakin stood over him. Palpatine's yellow eyes burned upward. "You think this saves her?" the Sith hissed. "Death comes for all things, boy. One day you will lose what you love." Anakin's hands trembled. Then he looked toward the doorway. Padmé stood there, guarded but unafraid, alive, angry, beautiful, human. Not a prize to be preserved, not a dream to be controlled. A person who loved him enough to demand truth from him. Anakin looked back at Palpatine. "I know," he said, "but I will not become you to delay it." For the first time, Darth Sidious had no answer. The days that followed were not simple. The war did not end in a single sunrise. The Senate did not heal because one monster had been exposed. The Jedi did not suddenly know what to do with Anakin Skywalker, secret husband, future father, breaker of rules, and witness to a nightmare no one else could fully understand. But the galaxy changed direction. Dooku's remaining forces fractured without Sidious guiding both sides. Clone commanders underwent emergency examinations after Jedi healers discovered the hidden biochips. Some clones wept when they learned what they had nearly been used for. Others simply sat in silence, helmets in their hands, trying to understand how loyalty could be weaponized without consent. Anakin spent long hours with Rex and the men of the 501st, apologizing for a betrayal they had not committed, and he had only seen in another future. Rex did not understand everything. He understood enough. "We follow orders," Rex said quietly. "But we're men, sir, not machines." "I know," Anakin said. "I should have known better sooner." Rex gave him a tired smile. "Sooner is good. Now is still better than too late." The Jedi Council changed more slowly. Some wanted Anakin expelled. Some wanted his marriage hidden to preserve the Order's reputation. Some wanted to pretend the old rules had not helped Sidious isolate the most powerful Jedi of his generation until he nearly broke. Yoda listened to them all. Then he asked Padmé to speak. She stood in the council chamber with Anakin beside her and Obi-Wan behind them. The city shone beyond the windows. Corusaunt looked peaceful from above, which was how Corusaunt lied. "The Republic trusted the Jedi because you were meant to protect life," Padmé said. "But life is not protected by refusing to understand attachment, grief, family, or fear. Those things exist whether your code names them or not. If you force your knights to hide love, someone like Sidious will always be waiting in the shadows to turn that secrecy into a chain." Then Master Windu, who had opposed Anakin more often than anyone, leaned forward. "Skywalker," he said, "do you believe you can remain a Jedi?" Anakin thought of Vader. He thought of Luke and Leia. He thought of what the title Jedi had meant when he wore it as armor instead of responsibility. "I don't know," he said, "but I want to serve the light. If that means as a Jedi, I will do it honestly. If that means outside the Order, I will do that honestly too." Windu studied him. At last, he nodded once. It was not forgiveness, not yet, but it was a beginning. Months later, rain fell over Naboo. Anakin stood beneath a balcony awning, listening to water tap against leaves. The war was ending in negotiations instead of slaughter. The Republic was wounded, but alive. The Jedi were wounded too, perhaps more deeply than they admitted, but healing had begun. Inside the lake house, Padmé slept. The twins had not yet been born. Anakin sometimes woke in terror, convinced he heard Vader breathing in the dark. When that happened, he walked outside, placed his hands on the wet stone railing, and reminded himself of what was real. Padmé was alive. Obi-Wan knew the truth and had not left. Palpatine was imprisoned under the watch of Jedi, senators, and clone commanders who trusted no single system too completely anymore. The future was not saved. Not fully. The future was never a thing one saved once. It had to be chosen again and again. The door opened behind him. Obi-Wan stepped out carrying 2 cups of tea. "You brewed very dramatically," Obi-Wan said. Anakin accepted the cup. I learned from you. I do not brood. I reflect with dignity. That is what brooding people call it. Obi-Wan smiled faintly, then looked out at the rain. Dreams again? Anakin nodded. Vader? Sometimes. He held the warm cup between both hands. Sometimes Luke, sometimes Leia. I wonder if they will still be who I met. They will be themselves, Obi-Wan said. That is all children can be. Anakin breathed out slowly. I'm afraid I'll fail them. I should be more concerned if you weren't. Anakin glanced at him. Obi-Wan's expression softened. Fear is not the enemy, Anakin. It is a warning. The question is whether you let it command you. Anakin looked back toward the rain. For once, the silence did not frighten him. Inside the house, Padmé called his name. Not in pain, not in a dream, just his name, sleepy and real. Anakin set down the tea and went to her. Years later, his son would ask why the old Jedi temple on Corusaunt had a sealed chamber beneath it where no student was allowed to go. Anakin would tell Luke that some doors were dangerous because they showed people what they wanted, and others were dangerous because they showed people what they might become. Leia, sitting cross-legged nearby with a training remote hovering in front of her, would ask if he had ever opened such a door. Anakin would look at Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan would raise an eyebrow in the way that meant, tell them enough, but not too much. Padmé would smile from the garden steps, because she knew the story already, and knew he still struggled to tell it. So Anakin would kneel before his children and say yes. He would tell them he once saw a future made from fear. He would tell them he met a brave pilot with a heart full of sunlight, and a princess with a voice strong enough to shame tyrants. He would tell them he saw a monster wearing his pain like armor. Luke would ask if the monster was gone forever. Anakin would think carefully before answering. No, he would say. That is not how darkness works. It does not vanish because we win once. It waits for anger, pride, and fear. It waits for us to believe we are alone. Leia would frown, serious even as a child. Then how do we beat it? Anakin would touch the training remote, sending it gently toward her. Together, he would say. Leia would ignite her small practice blade and strike the remote cleanly. Luke would cheer. Padmé would laugh. Obi-Wan would pretend not to be proud and fail completely. And Anakin Skywalker, who had once crossed time to meet the ruin of himself, would sit in the light of a future that was imperfect, uncertain, fragile, and free. For the first time in his life, that was enough.